Another person has been shot dead in the imploding Seattle Autonomous Zone as the left begins to destroy itself. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest round of shootings within America's hippie haven, how the ultra-left mayor of Seattle is being sued, and how it's all signaling that the political left is beginning to eat its own and destroy itself. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. I hope you're all having a wonderful start to your week. If you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that subscribe button. I see they got rid of the bell for whatever reason. You're not going to want to miss a single video where we analyze current events in light of some super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. So let's start off with our video chat question of the day. Do you think Seattle's mayor should be impeached? Let us know in the comment section below. It should make for some interesting reading here. Do you think that Seattle's ultra-left mayor, who has encouraged and supported the CHOP autonomous zone, should be impeached? Because we're going to take a look at the left-wing disaster that is Seattle's own autonomous zone and how it all signals nothing less than the left beginning to collapse in on itself. You're going to absolutely love it. But before we get into it, if you're looking for an encouraging and hopeful alternative to all the fake news that's being spewed out there on a daily basis from the leftist likes of CNN and MSNBC and the New York Slimes, you're going to find no better antidote than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Now, do not take my word for it. Just read through the reviews on Amazon. There's over 150 of them. And you'll see how this book cuts through all the cynicism and despair that we so often feel living in this crazy globalist world. And what it's going to do is it's going to inspire you and give you the hope you need to look at the world in a whole new light. So in page after page, I give you all the data and statistics and indicators that show nothing less than a new conservative Christian majority emerging throughout the United States and Europe. And it's already transforming the world map into a more naturalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on that link right now, we're offering for a limited time a 50% discount on this book. That's right, you get it for half off, so don't wait. It's a limited time offer. Click on the link below and get your book at a super discount and arm yourself with the information that you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, gang, let's dive in here. While it was announced by the mayor's office in Seattle that she has authorized police to begin dismantling the autonomous zone known as CHOP, right? Capitol Hill organized protest, not too organized. They changed it from Chaz after they realized they could be charged with insurrection. But nevertheless, while this horrifically incompetent and rabidly liberal mayor, who was all for this autonomous zone, which everyone else saw as nothing more than a theater of the absurd, she did finally announce that police were given the green light to move in and dismantle it, but it wasn't fast enough to save the life of the latest shooting victim within this wonderful and totally and completely peaceful hippie haven. As of last night, one man has died and another remains hospitalized in critical condition following the latest, yes, I believe it's the fifth shooting within the six-city block section that's we now call CHOP. These were but the latest shootings. Just the other week, 2 people were shot within the zone. Again, one in fact died of his gun wound, the other's in critical condition. And we pointed this out, in another video. If you think about it now, this autonomous region, this left-wing Marxist utopian paradise couldn't exist for a month before people were being gunned down in their streets. I mean, there's self-professed warlord there, that rapper by the name of Raz Simone. He had a temper tantrum over the fact that the ambulance they called to respond to the shooting ended up parking outside of the zone's barriers and wouldn't go in without a police escort, which took over a half an hour to arrive. And this Marxist moron's all freaking out, and he tweeted out, medics refused to help even after people in the CHOP begged. They let our bro bleed out for 30 minutes till he died. F politics, F your corrupt system. Our corrupt system. Now, this self-professed warlord would seem to have actually only his fellow Marxist mobsters to blame. As it turns out, the Seattle Police Department posted video of police attempting to enter into Antifa-stan to respond to the shooting, only to be forced back by a massive mob surrounding them. And the same thing happened here the other night. in that another person would be alive today if the police were allowed to do their jobs. Unfortunately, city efforts to dismantle CHOP, which of course should never have been allowed to be set up in the first place, but the city efforts to dismantle the autonomous zone were thwarted on Friday when protesters laid down in the street to block Seattle Department of Transportation crews and heavy machinery from successfully removing barricades from around the occupied zone, which, of course, as we pointed out, is so ironic. They established their own sovereign nation, as it were, and the first thing they do to delineate that nation was what? They set up a border wall, which its residents are now defending. The residents of CHOP are not merely putting up border walls, they're actually defending them. I mean, do you see how leftism defeats itself? So now another person inside the CHOP zone has died as a result. Moreover, in the process of all this, the Seattle mayor, this left-wing lunatic, Jenny Durkan, she's being sued by a number of Seattle citizens and businesses, particularly those from within the autonomous zone. One attorney who's suing the mayor, he pointed out the obvious. In allowing a group of random people to come in and on public property dictate who can come in and who can leave, it is an absolute violation of the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments. I mean, forget the damage, as bad as they are, the horrible deaths. This mayor has violated, willingly, cooperatively violated the fundamental rights of every single American citizen. She should be impeached immediately. Those are my comments down below, right? She should be sued into oblivion. Both she and the governor have deliberately abdicated their enforcement authority and turned part of the city over to a bunch of armed thugs, thereby depriving American citizens of their constitutional rights. They both should be impeached immediately. Now, big picture, I think what we're seeing here in Seattle, both in terms of the implosion of the CHOP autonomous zone and the suing of the mayor there, I think it's a microcosm of what's really happening to the left at a national level. I think we're seeing the left begin to crack up. And no, I'm not talking simply being the left. We all know that the left by definition is a total crack up. Yes, I know, but here I'm referring to signs that the left itself is beginning to crack. It's beginning to balkanize into two major factions, which is very good news for the political right, which we'll get into in a moment. But the left appears to be increasingly breaking up into at least two factions. Let's look at a few headlines here. First, we've got this one surrounding HBO's Bill Maher. Now, Maher's come out again, slamming the left's cancel culture movement, calling out white people who are trying to act like they're more bothered about racism than African Americans. And what he did is he singled out the situation in San Francisco, where a black fellow tied a bunch of ropes to trees so people could use it as exercise equipment. But the insane leftist mayor in Oakland, this woman named Libby Schaaf, actually claimed that the ropes represented nooses, like what we saw with Bubba Wallace of NASCAR, right? A rope or ropes used for recreational use and are now being imagined by these Don Quixotes of the lunatic left as symbols of lynching. And Bill Maher was like, why is this white woman seeing racism where a black man isn't? And he then got into the fallout from the social media users who were encouraged to post a black square in what was called a social media blackout to show their solidarity with BLM. And even BuzzFeed featured an article encouraging all their readers to post black marks on their social media. I'm laughing because I ought to say that BuzzFeed encouraged what's left of their readers, since BuzzFeed is collapsing. They've had to cancel their morning show, AM to DM, and they've had to lay off and furlough several staff members because nobody's giving them the time of day anymore. And so Maher rightly pointed out that people got called out for not posting the black square, or for posting it without speaking out, or for not posting it the right way, or for posting it with a white border around it, or not giving their support in the exact way the Karens of cancel culture demanded. It was absurd. And so Maher was like, white people need to just shut up and stop trying to cancel other white people whose heart is in the right place, but they don't get it exactly right the first time they try. Liberalism should be about lifting each other up. This is Bill Maher speaking, gang. Liberalism should be about lifting each other up, and you don't do that by slapping down people who want to be on your side. And that's the key. Maher is pointing out what others have actually documented, that the more the social justice warrior left virtue signals their own, the more they cause mass defections to the political right. That's what Maher is pointing out here. There is an increasing chasm developing between those who want to be part of the woke crowd, but who aren't being allowed in by the woke purists. Here's another one. Black Lives Matter activists recently stormed a Washington, D.C. Target and threatened to shut down their business if they called the police. Now, what's so fascinating here is that Target has marketed itself as a fellow woke warrior. Target was one of the first major businesses that instituted a transgender bathroom policy. They prided themselves in providing protection and inclusion for LGBT individuals in their stores, and they actually ended up losing a lot of money as a result of a boycott by more traditionalist groups against their business. Isn't it ironic that Black Lives Matter would be coming for one of the most woke of corporations? Now, I think this is key in terms of destroying the left. We have to identify where the left is destroying itself, where the left is in its own civil war, and in so doing, we engage in a classic divide and conquer mission. You delineate where the left is warring against each other, where you find where their inherent fault lines are. You exploit those fault lines and create a coalition where a substantial portion of the left actually ends up getting red-pilled and joins the right. They see a new home on the nationalist populist right. At the very least, by exploiting the Civil War in the Democratic Party, you align the independent voter with the sentiments of the right, since the entire right is united in their opposition to one side of the Democrats, one side of the divide on the left. So in this sense, we can side with Target and their right to do business, and we can side with the Target shoppers and their right to shop without being harassed. We can side with Bill Maher and his concerns about woke cancel culture. And as I understand it, really this is what brought Dave Rubin over to the pro-Trump right. Rubin always considered himself a leftist liberal. I love the interview he did with Larry Elder a few years back. Larry Elder, who's black. He just completely schooled Rubin, in a totally respectful but very forthright way on how Rubin's leftist assumptions about racism in America were totally off. Because Rubin was so influenced by unthinking liberalism, he didn't realize that his assumptions about race and racism in America were cultivated more by a far-left ideology than by any set of facts and objective indicators. And Larry Elder just called him out on it. And Rubin, who just seems like he's the nicest guy on the planet, he received it. And he thought about it. And he now sees himself more as a classical liberal, which puts him far more in line with the modern day right than it does with the insane cultural Marxist left. Elon Musk seems to have exemplified this pattern of late, right? After dealing with the county officials that were refusing to allow his Tesla facility to reopen during the pandemic in California, Musk tweeted out to all his 34 million Twitter followers telling him to, quote, take the red pill. The red pill, of course, being the reference to the Matrix movie, but it refers more to the way people suddenly realize the deception we're all living under with left-wing globalist mobs in charge over our lives. And so a red-pilled person joins the true resistance, which is the conservative, nationalist, populist revolution against the liberal left-wing globalists in power, our political class. So I think with the implosion of CHOP and the lawsuits that are flying in Seattle, I think we're actually seeing in microcosm the left destroying itself. It may turn out that the imploding CHOP autonomous zone is but a microcosm of the implosion of the left as a whole. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out our latest video we just uploaded on highlights from Turley Talks being at the Youth for Trump rally in Arizona. It's going to absolutely encourage you and put a smile on your face. Our own Hannah Owens MCs it. She did a wonderful job. She's on the ground at a Trump rally. She takes you right in. You're going to love it. It is a promise. Make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.